More champagne, Mom? Larry asked, refilling my glass before I could even answer. I gave a hesitant smile, nervously glancing at my son and his fiancée. We were having a small family dinner to celebrate their engagement, but something didn't feel right in my stomach. To your happiness, Laura, I said, raising my glass. Laura clanked her glass against mine with a purr. I took a big sip. There's something we want to talk about tonight, Larry said, sharing a knowing look with Laura. We're planning a big engagement party next month. Only the best for us. I laughed a bit nervously. That sounds wonderful for you both. But aren't those parties expensive? Oh, we're not paying for it, Laura said casually, waving her hand. That's going to be your gift to us. I almost choked on my drink. I'm sorry. As Larry's mother, it's your duty to pay, Laura continued. We expect you to chip in at least $30,000. Consider it an investment in your son's future. They couldn't be serious. $30,000 for a party. I asked, shocked. Do you realize how unreasonable that is? Don't be ridiculous, Mom, Larry cut in. You make good money, and you have all that inheritance from Dad. You've been saving it all. The mention of my husband, who had recently died from cancer, felt like a fresh wound. I pulled back, hurt by their harsh words. That money is my savings for retirement and to cover my expenses. You didn't even discuss this with me first. Laura rolled her eyes dramatically. Still on about being consulted? Get over it already. You're the mother of the groom. This is what's expected. Just pay up and be happy we're even letting you help. You should feel honored we're inviting you, Larry sneered. Just write the check so we can start planning. I sat there stunned, unable to believe their arrogance and lack of care. I tried once more to reason with my son. Honey, be reasonable. You can have a nice party without it costing so much. Maybe we can cut back a little? Larry slammed his fist on the table, making the glasses shake. I knew you'd be stingy, he yelled. Some mother you are, not even supporting your only son. Tears filled my eyes as I faced their scornful looks. I had always pampered Larry, but I never thought he could be so cruel and disrespectful. I stood up quickly, feeling disgusted by the two unpleasant people in my home. I think you should leave now, I said in a low voice. Laura jumped up and grabbed my shoulders with her sharp red nails. Don't even think about shirking your responsibilities, she hissed, her breath heavy with perfume assaulting my nose. Pay up, or you can forget about having a relationship with Larry and seeing any future grandchildren. I pushed her off forcefully. Get out, I yelled. Leave my house this instant. They left without another word, but I caught them smirking triumphantly at each other. My heart sank as I realized the engagement celebration I had hoped for would only bring greed, manipulation, and pain. The next evening, tired from a long day at work, but determined to resolve the conflict, I prepared a simple pasta dinner, hoping for a frank discussion with Larry. I heard the front door slam and braced myself as loud footsteps approached. Something smells good, Larry said as he walked into the kitchen and headed straight for the wine cabinet. My hopes lifted briefly, then faded as Laura followed him in, reeking of strong perfume, so much for a private chat. To what do I owe the pleasure? I asked, trying to sound calm as I drained the pasta. You're going to love what we have planned, Laura said cheerfully, ignoring my tone as she dug through her flashy handbag. We met with the wedding planner today, and everything is set. All we need is one little thing from you. She pulled out a folder stuffed with brochures and invoices. Just sign here for the $70,000 wedding package. I froze, a chill running down my spine. $70,000, I exclaimed. For a one-day event? That's absurd. It's our special day, Larry complained. Don't I deserve the best? I tried to appeal to his better nature. Son, be reasonable. Let's have a small, meaningful ceremony instead of this extravagance. Laura slammed the folder down. You clueless fool. Who said you have a say in this? She screamed. You will pay every penny to give your only son the wedding of his dreams." Anger surged within me, but before I could respond, we all turned in surprise to see my daughter Linda standing in the doorway, looking determined. I was so caught up in the argument that I didn't even notice her come in. "Stay out of this," Laura snapped at my daughter, Linda, who is a bold, tattooed graphic novelist. "This doesn't concern you." "The hell it doesn't," Linda shot back. "You don't talk to my mother like that." She walked over and stood next to me protectively. Normally, I might have been a bit upset by her stepping in. I've always tried to be the strong, independent head of our family. But right then, I was grateful for her support. Larry threw his hands up dramatically. "I ask for one simple wedding, and my whole family turns against me." He pointed at Linda. "This is all your fault. You're filling Mom's head with crazy ideas. She owes me this money and her loyalty." Linda crossed her arms. "Mom owes you nothing but basic respect, which you clearly can't give back," she said. "She raised you all by herself after Dad died, working hard to give you every chance in life. And this is how you thank her? By using her?" Larry had no comeback, just mumbled under his breath. Linda turned to me, holding my hand firmly. "Stay strong, Mom. Set your limits and demand the respect you deserve. I'm here for you." Feeling a surge of relief, my doubts washed away by my daughter's firm support, I stood up taller. "You both have two choices," I said loudly to Larry and Laura. "Treat me and my daughter with basic decency, or leave our lives for good." Laura opened her mouth, probably ready to say something harsh, but then she saw Linda's stern look and thought better of it. She grabbed Larry by the ear and dragged him out. I squeezed Linda's hand, tears of gratitude in my eyes. "How did I get so lucky to have a daughter like you?" She gave a wry smile, just being a chip off the old block. "Now, let's eat that pasta and plan our next move. These jerks don't know who they're dealing with." The next week was tough, filled with uncertainty. My phone buzzed nonstop with demanding texts and voicemails from Larry, angry when I didn't call back right away. I started ignoring his calls, not having the energy to deal with his rants. When Saturday afternoon arrived, I decided to treat myself to a manicure to cheer myself up. As I relaxed and the technician worked on my nails, my phone buzzed again. Normally, I would ignore it, but this time, I saw it was Larry's number and curiosity got the better of me. "Hi, honey," I answered cautiously. "It's your witch of a mother," came Laura's harsh voice instead, making my blood start to boil. I was about to hang up when I heard Larry in the background. "Is the old bag actually taking your call? She's been dodging mine all week." Then Larry's voice came through clearly. "Mom, what the heck? I've been calling nonstop. Have you thought more about funding the wedding? The coordinator is on my case." I was ready to say no firmly, but Laura cut me off. "Oh, forget it already. She's clearly a lost cause." I heard a slap, like she swatted his arm. "Your mother is a selfish old prune. Once we're married, we'll change all the account passwords so she can't touch our money." My eyes widened. "Our money?" More noise followed. Then Laura sneered. "Why are we even inviting her to the wedding? She'll just show up in some cheap outfit from a discount store." Their loud laughter made my blood boil, but Larry's next words were worse. "Right, and she'll complain about helping us, as if that tiny insurance payout compares to what I make in a month." I was furious. That tiny payout was nearly $500,000 I had saved for retirement, not wasted like my irresponsible son. Laura laughed loudly. "Oh, please, we both know it was your dad's money that got you that job. Your mom couldn't handle money without a man's help." "Absolutely," Larry laughed. "And we're using that inheritance money way better, like our first-class trips to Australia." Their laughter enraged me. I pressed the red button on my phone so hard I almost cracked the screen. Hearing their cruel words confirmed my suspicions and shook me deeply. My hands shook with anger and outrage. I quickly waved off the concerned looks from the nail technician, threw some cash on the counter, and rushed out the door. I drove home as fast as I could, filled with the need to talk to someone about what happened. Thankfully, Linda was already there, her motorcycle parked unevenly on the driveway. I burst through the front door, and Linda jumped up from the couch, surprised by my upset look. I poured out the whole story, feeling enraged. Linda's green eyes flashed with anger. "Those deceivers," she shouted. "I knew it. They never cared about family or celebration. They just see you as a money source." "I feel so betrayed and used," I said, feeling bitter and trying not to cry. "My own son, how could he?" Linda took me by the shoulders, looking me in the eye. "Mom, listen. We need to get proof and expose these lowlifes for who they are." She slapped her hand with her fist, showing she meant business. "Contact the wedding planner. Get all the documents showing plans made without your oak. I'll look into Laura's background too. I bet her family is rich despite her act." I felt hope and courage rise in me again. Linda was right. It was time to take control and fight back. I hugged her tightly, more thankful than ever for her honesty and strength. "Let's expose them," I said. Over the next 4 weeks, Linda and I collected a lot of evidence showing Larry and Laura's dishonesty. Linda found out that Laura came from a very wealthy family. Her dad owns a big real estate investment company and could easily pay for their extravagant wedding. Meanwhile, I got financial records from the wedding planner showing the huge costs Larry and Laura wanted me to cover $95,000 and counting. "We have everything we need to confront these cheaters," Linda announced, spreading the papers on the dining table. "Let's invite them over to talk about wedding plans, and then reveal what we know," she suggested, her eyes shining with determination. I called them, pretending I was ready to discuss paying for the wedding. They took the bait and agreed to come right away. They arrived on time, the doorbell ringing loudly. Larry and Laura walked in, as usual, full of arrogance and the smell of expensive perfume. "Where's my check?" Larry demanded immediately, never one for subtlety. Laura elbowed him, then put on a fake sweet smile. "Yes, do tell us the good news," she said cheerily. "We have so many decisions to finalize for our big day." I gestured for them to sit down. Linda quietly handed me a thick manila envelope full of damning evidence. My heart raced, but I felt determined. I clasped my hands tightly on the table. "Before we discuss any more plans, I have some concerns," I said. I pulled the papers from the envelope and spread them out in front of me. According to the wedding planner, the current expenses total $95,000. "Can you explain this?" I asked. Laura scoffed loudly. "It's the wedding of the century. What do you expect?" "I expect honest communication about money and shared responsibility," I replied calmly. "For example, why don't Laura's very wealthy parents contribute their fair share?" I showed them a copy of her dad's business profile, showing he was worth tens of millions. They could easily afford it. Laura turned pale, and Larry got angry. "Leave Laura's family out of this. It's my wedding, my financial support," he said, pointing at me. "And you're my mother, so just write the check." Expecting their denial, I calmly slid over a pile of invoices and contracts. Actually, these documents show otherwise. They have my forged signature authorizing $230,000 in non-refundable payments so far. Care to explain that? Laura gasped. "Are you accusing us of fraud?" From beside me, Linda slammed her fist down. "Damn right she is," she shouted, surprising them into silence. She then spread out the rest of the contents from the envelope: bank statements, screenshots, phone records. Clear evidence of their lies and manipulation lay scattered dramatically across the table. "It's all here, clear as day," Linda said with disgust. "You've been exploiting my mother's love and trust, never caring about family, just what you can get from her." "You were spying on us," Larry said in outrage. "Collecting evidence against your fraud," I corrected calmly. "And now you'll cancel this sham wedding immediately." Laura jumped up furious. "How dare you?" she yelled. "I will marry Larry with or without your money." She turned to my son, expecting support. But Larry just sat there, pale and quiet, overwhelmed by the revelations. Finally, Laura rolled her eyes. "Your spineless mama's boy," she muttered, grabbed her flashy handbag and stormed out. At the doorway, she turned to give one last angry look. "You'll regret this," she hissed. "We won't forget." Then she left in a huff, the smell of her perfume lingering in the air. I looked straight at my shaken son. "Nor will we," I said quietly. "Now leave." He got up quickly, but before he left, he mumbled a soft yet clear threat. "I'll make you pay for this." The day I had dreaded finally arrived. Larry and Laura's lavish wedding. Despite our previous confrontation, they went ahead with their extravagant plans, using even more of the retirement money I had put in Larry's accounts. So there I sat, a reluctant participant in their over-the-top wedding. All around me, guests who had drunk too much wandered under extravagant floral decorations that cost more than my first car. The highlight was an 8-tiered cake decorated with handcrafted sugar flowers. Larry and Laura's smug faces were displayed above everything in a huge golden frame. Next to me, Linda slouched in her ripped jeans and combat boots, her pixie-cut green hair standing out against the pastel bridesmaid dresses. We watched the lavish event unfold, barely hiding our disgust. Then the music changed to a grand wedding march, and the crowd quieted as Larry took his place under a brightly decorated arch. My heart tightened. He looked so much like his father, handsome in his tuxedo, radiating charm. There was no sign of the greedy boy I had confronted weeks ago. As Laura walked down the aisle in a fancy dress that I suspected was charged to my credit card, old memories and sadness surged within me. Over 28 years ago, I had walked that same path, full of naive dreams of love and family that quickly turned sour. My faith in love had faded with my husband's death, and now the son we had raised showed me the same cold disregard. As the ceremony went on, anger built inside me. I would not stay silent or support this loveless marriage any longer. I stood up abruptly, my chair scraping loudly across the polished floor. Everyone looked at me. Linda took my hand, giving me strength. Clearing my throat, I met Larry's shocked look. "I apologize, but I cannot stay silent about this farce," I declared. The guests murmured in shock. Larry's face turned red, and he looked embarrassed under my stern gaze. Before he could say anything, Laura pushed past him, her eyes full of anger. "How dare you ruin my perfect day?" she shouted, coming toward me with her hands raised aggressively. I stepped back, recoiling from Laura's hostile energy. Linda immediately stepped in front of the bride. "Back off," she said firmly, standing protectively in front of me. A surprised murmur spread through the room. No one else moved to help. Larry kept his head down, not looking at me, and didn't try to stop Laura. My heart broke. All illusions were gone. I no longer had a son. The greedy, cowardly stranger in front of me would never again receive my support or resources. I moved past Linda to speak to everyone. "Let all bear witness to this fake, pretentious wedding," I said loudly. I refused to support these deceivers any longer, and I cut all ties. This farce ends now. I turned and walked briskly to the exit, my skirt swirling dramatically. As I passed my shocked son, I paused long enough to echo his earlier threat, "You'll regret this." Then I walked away confidently, Linda right beside me, our footsteps echoing a firm departure from that toxic place. We stepped into the dim sunlight outside, the doors closing behind us, cutting off Laura's angry shouts. I took a deep, freeing breath. Relief washed over me as Linda and I got into her car. "Thank you for being there with me," I told her, patting her tattooed hand. She smiled slightly. "Are you kidding? I've wanted to stand up to Laura for years." As we drove away from the extravagant deceit, tears came to my eyes, but this time they were tears of relief, not sadness or regret. Looking at my brave, loyal daughter smiling back at me, I knew I would never be alone again. In the months after that disastrous wedding, I changed my phone number, moved to a new place, and shifted my remaining assets, cutting off all contact with Larry and his toxic bride. I heard through rumors that they had their honeymoon in Australia, likely using what was left of my retirement savings. Let them indulge, I thought bitterly. Reality will catch up soon. Sure enough, just a year later, Larry showed up at my doorstep. I came home to find him sitting there, unshaven and smelling of stale cigarettes. I was so surprised that I froze, my grocery bag slipping from my hands. Larry's eyes showed a flash of embarrassment. He tried to help me pick up my things, then said quietly, "Hey Ma, can we talk?" I walked past him without a word to unlock my front door, motioning for him to come inside. He lingered awkwardly as I slowly put away the groceries, steeling myself before finally speaking. "What do you want?" I asked bluntly. Larry cleared his throat. I need your help. Just temporarily," he quickly added, as if that made his request any less bold. "I'm between jobs right now, and Laura is upset because I can't cover her expenses." "Absolutely not," I said sharply, cutting off his rambling. I crossed my arms, feeling both anger and satisfaction. "You made this mess, now deal with it." Larry looked shocked, not used to such a direct denial. "Come on, Ma, I'm really struggling here. Can't you lend me a few thousand? I'll pay you back, I swear." I stood firm, unmoving. "You never planned to pay me back the first time you emptied my accounts," I reminded him coldly. "Why should I believe you now?" He blushed. "I was wrong before, okay, but I'm still your son." With a swift motion of my hand, I cut him off. "You lost that privilege long ago. I have no son," I declared, pointing at him. "Now you face the consequences. Get out." He tried to speak, but no words came out against my firm disgust. With drooping shoulders, Larry left my house and my life once again. It was about time he experienced the reality of his actions. I locked the door quickly, feeling a rush of vindication before any pity or regret could set in. There was no forgiving someone who repeatedly betrayed me. Larry's pitiful state was proof that karma was catching up with him. I later heard that his fancy tech startup had failed within a year, and my business contacts had shunned him. No investor wanted anything to do with his dubious schemes. Meanwhile, Laura returned to her wealthy father after too many arguments over unpaid bills. The last I heard, she was planning to divorce Larry and was involved with a wealthy older man in San Remo. That night, Linda and I toasted to their misfortunes over cocktails, laughing about the rumors that Larry was now working in fast food under a fake name. "Karma's a harsh one," Linda said, raising her glass. "Here's to it continuing to bite those who deserve it." I happily clanked my glass against Linda's. "No truer words have been spoken," I agreed. Over the next year and a half, Linda's career took off. More and more high-profile clients wanted her unique tattoo designs and graphic novels. She even got a book deal for her bold memoir about our family struggles, which was creating a buzz before it even hit the shelves. Behind the scenes, Linda trusted me with her growing finances. At her request, I used my years of experience to secure trademarks, negotiate publishing rights, and maximize her profits. I was so proud to see her passions thrive with my help. Linda started appearing in trendy fashion magazines and was featured in popular graphic anthologies. She bought a stylish loft downtown, which served as her business hub and showcased the impressive views she had earned with her talent. To celebrate Linda's success, I planned a small party at her chic new place. It would mark her as a true artistic force and independent businesswoman. Linda welcomed the guests with a bit of nervousness, so I reassured her as I adjusted her blazer. "Just be yourself. Everyone here already loves you." Soon, the loft was filled with Linda's creative friends, including daring writers, top publishers, edgy photographers, and even some famous faces from her celebrity clients, all there to celebrate their favorite artist. My heart swelled with pride hearing such influential people praise my daughter. This was the kind of launch party Larry could only dream of. 3 years ago, our family name was damaged by selfish actions, but now, thanks to Linda's hard work, we had gained respect and admiration at the highest levels of the art world. Late in the evening, I joined Linda on the balcony, looking out over the city lights. She squeezed my hand. "None of this would have been possible without you, Mom. You believed in me when no one else did, and fought for me. I'll always owe you." I hugged her, holding my champagne flute. "Nonsense, my brave girl. Your success is all because of your talent and vision. I just handled the business side so you could focus on creating." Linda smiled. "Well, I definitely got your business sense and Dad's creative flair," she joked, clinking her glass with mine. "Here's to us, beating the odds and staying strong together." I laughed happily, feeling a deep joy as a mother. My daughter and I had survived tough times of greed and betrayal, and now we were thriving on our own success. As the party went on, I quietly raised my glass to the sky, thinking of her late father. We had indeed created a wonderful legacy, one built on integrity, courage, and hard work, not entitlement or manipulation. This legacy stood as a shining example to others, making the likes of Larry envious for years to come. Over the next 3 years, Linda's career continued to rise brilliantly. Meanwhile, I heard through the grapevine that Larry was struggling with obscurity and growing debt. His extravagant lifestyle hung on until his credit ran out and everything fell apart. Occasionally, I'd hear about Larry in the gossip columns, from Laura's very public affair to him getting fired from a car dealership for missing payments. I took these stories with quiet satisfaction, confident that our paths would never cross again. I had retired from my corporate role to focus on my passions, pursuing artistic hobbies, helping disadvantaged youth, and planning trips around the world. I also decided to move to a more manageable home and found the perfect place in a scenic coastal senior community. Surrounded by mature trees and vibrant gardens, I enjoyed peaceful walks with close friends, finding a new sense of tranquility. Meanwhile, Linda found her match in Riley, a brilliant software developer who loved her spirited nature. I saw true partnership potential in him right away, and my feelings were confirmed when they moved in together. Soon after, Linda excitedly showed me the unique ring Riley had designed, announcing their engagement. "My darling girl," I said, my eyes tearing up with joy, "I'm thrilled you found someone who deserves your big heart." Linda described her dream of a small garden wedding, much like my own vision from decades ago. No extravagant displays, just a deep, lifelong commitment surrounded by loved ones. I held her hand, emotionally moved by how beautifully she was realizing the dreams her father and I once had. Later, as we planned the wedding over tea and biscuits, Linda hesitated, then mentioned a difficult topic. "Mom, about inviting Larry." I quickly waved off the idea. "Let's not ruin your special day by bringing him into it," I said firmly. Linda looked conflicted. "I just can't help but feel sorry for him, you know. He's clearly a mess, but he's still family even if he doesn't deserve it." "I wonder if including him would be the right thing," Linda said, trailing off, unsure. Seeing my daughter's compassion, even for someone who hadn't shown her the same, I patted her hand reassuringly. "You shouldn't have to compromise your kindness. If it eases your mind to show Larry some small mercy, I can handle his presence just this once." Linda exhaled in relief and squeezed my hand, thankful. "You're the best, Mom. I knew you'd understand." Our sentimental moment was suddenly interrupted by my ringing cell phone. I was surprised to see Larry's name flash across the screen. It had been months since his last call, a desperate plea for money. With a grim face, I silenced the call. "Speak of the devil," I remarked. Linda shook her head. "He never stops trying to come back in. But don't worry, Mom. After the wedding, you'll never have to deal with his mess again." I smiled at Linda's protective words. She was right. It was time to stop listening to Larry's self-pitying attempts. I now had everything I needed right here, in a peaceful life surrounded by people who nurtured my spirit. No remnants from a toxic past could change that. I patted Linda's hand firmly. "Onwards and upwards, my dear. Now, tell me more about those lovely flower arrangements you've been thinking about."